Welcome to West Virginia Sports Connection. I'm your host, Tracy, joined as always by my co-host, three-time NFL All-Pro from the Minnesota Vikings, Carl Lee, and an alumni of Marshall University. And speaking of Marshall University, we have a very special guest today. He is the head football coach in his 10th season for the Thundering Herd down at Marshall. Doc, thanks for coming on the show.
No, it's always great to be with you. Of course, always great to see Carl. And I wish my players looked like him now. I need a corner. We're playing this daggone Cincinnati bunch. I wish I had Carl out there playing corner for me.
Coach, you benched me as soon as
I don't
first
think so, man. I don't think so.
So you are in your 10th season. I mean, does it seem like 10 seasons? Because it seems like it's flown by. When I was doing research, I mean, I've known you, we've talked to you before, but I looked at it and I was like, really, has it been 10 years?
It's hard to believe. I mean, it seems like yesterday. Of course, I didn't after that first one. I didn't know if I was going to make it past season number 3 or not. But it's been a blessing. I've been fortunate. I've been around and got a lot of great coaches. Been around a lot of great players. And Marshall's a special place. I said I didn't want to be anywhere where football's not important and expectations and standards aren't extremely high. That's a good thing. Our players have embraced that. I've embraced it and was trying to win some games.
Coach, what is it like? I know when I came back from New Orleans to take the head football coach at job at West Virginia State, and I felt like there was like coming back home and coaching like right in your own backyard. What has that been like, and what does that mean to you as a coach in light of all the records, all the wins and all that, but just being able to wake up, drive to the office and feel like you're at home? What does that feel like?
Growing up in Hurricane, West Virginia, I've always followed Marshall and you and all the great players that have gone through there. And as I was at the University of Florida at the time when the job first opened up and showed some interest, and then I always knew that Marshall was a place you could win championships, and football was important there. And I always wanted to be at a place like I had opportunities to go to a couple other places throughout my 40-year career, but one somewhere where football was important, where you had a fan base that meant something to them, and also where you had an athletic director and a president that would give you the type of resource that you needed to be successful. And Marshall checked all those boxes. And when I was at Florida, I ended up behind my sister's house on the farm I grew up on, never thinking I'd be living in it. And here 10 years later, I'm still in that same house. So it's kind of worked out. I'm just tickled it has.
Yeah.
Well, you're about to coach against Cincinnati this weekend, your 120th game, which ironically breaks Cam Henderson's record. So you will now have coached at Marshall longer than anybody else.
Well, I think in today's world and in today's college football, it is unusual. To be at one place for 10 years, it just doesn't happen a whole lot. But I've been fortunate. And like I say, I've been surrounded by some really good assistant coaches. I've been surrounded by some really good players. Of course, the administration, from Dr. Kopp, who hired me early on, to Dr. Gilbert, to Mike Hamrick, has provided the resources needed to be successful. And happy where it is right now. I've got a lot of work still to do.
Well, I know I could throw all these stats and all this stuff out, and I really enjoy talking to you and listening to you because you're one of those people that when you hear them talk, you just kind of get fired up. You kind of get ready to you're ready to run out there on the field, and it's easy to see how your players respond to that. And at this juncture, you're on 65 FBS wins. That's only 5 behind Coach Pruitt, and this season I'm going to go ahead and predict you're going to overtake that. What does all this mean to you? Because you said what a special place Marshall is, and you're just essentially going to have pretty much all the coaching records there.
Well, the number of wins in the games right now are insignificant. My goal, or my only thing I'm interested in right now is finding a way to beat Cincinnati and find a way to go play for a championship. I like this football team a lot. I think there's a lot of pieces that are in place, but we got to focus on getting better every day as a team. I was talking to the group there early on, and in today's world of college football and even in the NFL, I think consistency is so important. You got to get guys that go to work every day, and the teams that can remain consistent, that live right, that make great decisions, that go to work every day and become better players, therefore you become better teams, or teams that got a shot at reaching goals and dreams. And in today's world of social media and everything that's going on right now, it's just so hard for teams to remain consistent. The ones that do have a chance to win, the ones that don't they don't do very well. So my only thing right now is to work on this team, just playing them go to work every day, play one game at a time. Let's look up at the end of the year and see where we are.
Coach, I feel like you're like an old school coach that fits with these modern day players. How does that work? Because you're very matter of fact. The rules are what they are, and coaches who try that now can't quite pull that off. But you seem to be able to do that at Marshall quite well.
Well, I think the biggest thing, Carl, is you deal with kids today is a lot of these kids, when they come, they don't trust anybody, for obvious reasons. You got a lot of these kids that grow up tough and grow up in situations that haven't been good, and they have a hard time really trusting people. And if you can get kids today to trust you, and they understand that you got their best interest for them, they may not always like what you tell them, but you're going to tell them the truth. And if they trust you, they'll run through that wall for you. And just so important that you get a bunch of kids. Number one, I don't get hung up on stars when I recruit players. I get hung up on guys that got big old hearts and love football. Because if I can find those guys, I can fix everything else. Because if they know football will get taken away from them, and they're going to do what I ask them to do. But I like our team right now. I think we've got some great leadership on this team. Got a lot of great challenges ahead, but I like the direction we're going.
So you had a really nice come from behind win. You're 2-1 going into the Cincinnati game. Your offense is just, Marshall's always kind of been known for their offense. Over 500 yards this past week, last weekend against the battle against Ohio U for the Battle of the Bell. And I read some of the articles on that, and it said, this is a special win. What does it mean playing for that bell? Do you use that as motivation?
Well, I think any game you win is a special win. Winning's hard, as Carl will tell you. It's hard to win. And Ohio's picked to win the American Conference. They got a quarterback that's going to be the player of the year in that conference. And I felt going in that was an excellent football team, and I felt the same way coming out. And our guys found a way to win. I think it all starts at the quarterback position. You look around the NFL right now, and even college football. If you got a quarterback, you got a chance. And I see a young guy in Isaiah Green that's just a sophomore. He continues to get better every week. He's a student of the game. He works hard at it and took care of the football. And you take care of the ball, you got a chance to play any game, win any game you play. And we were able to do that against Ohio U. And that's going to be critical against Cincinnati as well.
And I feel too like for a team to be down or battle back late, there's a character in that football team that you can call back this game later on down the road where this will help you because your team won't quit. And I think that's a critical piece. If you've got a young team, you've got a team that can come back and win early. That's a good thing. That you're building something with that.
Well, yeah, there's no question. Anytime you get into a game like that, any game, which we talk about it, all the time. There are going to be heavyweight fights. And you never know what play is going to make a difference in winning or losing football games. You got to go out there every day, and you got to play every snap like it's the only snap out there, and you got to play as hard as you can. We just talk to our kids. Hey, don't worry about the scoreboard. There's going to be adversity in every game you play, and there will be. In every game we play this year, there's at some point there's going to be adversity, and you got to be able to overcome that. And I think that our kids overcame some adversity in that game, and that was a good thing. And there'll be adversity in Cincinnati as well, and we got to find a way to do that as well.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. We're coming right back with Coach Doc Holliday.
Funding for West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, The Barnes Agency, Spriggs Distributed, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to West Virginia Sports Connection. We are actually coming to you from inside of Embassy Suites in downtown Charleston, West Virginia, and talking with Doc Holliday, coach of Marshall Thundering Herd football. Coach, when we went out, you were talking about, your players and your quarterbacks, and you touched on it. If you have a quarterback, you got a shot at winning just about any game, or at least you're in the game. What does this kid do for your team? Because he's just a sophomore, and he played last year, and now he's playing this year. How have you seen him grow?
Well, I think number one is there's a skill set there that he's a good enough player. He can make the throws. He can beat you with his feet. He can do some things athletically. But as Carl will tell you, the most important thing at the quarterback are the intangibles. The leadership skills, the toughness. He's got the respect of his teammates, and he's a winner. The kid knows how to win. And so you see him grow as a player. I thought a year ago, anytime you play a freshman at quarterback, you go through some growing pains. He did some of that as a freshman, but you saw towards the end of the year that at the end in the bowl game played his best football, and now he's playing even a better football against OU. He had 0 turnovers in that game, and if you can't turn the ball, if you don't turn the ball over, you got a chance to win every game you play. So that was big, and we got to continue to do that.
tell me a little bit about the idea of, you know, I come from the old school of defense wins games, but we are talking about how impactful the quarterback is to winning footballs, winning championships. Does it only matter, defense starting to only matter in championship games? And just during the season, you need to just outrun everybody with the offense. And then when you get to playoff time, you get to championship time, defense has to show up?
No, I think it starts with playing great defense regardless. You know, and you know, 5 of the last 6 years we've been the best defense in our league. And you know, in order for us to get where we got to go, it all starts with playing great defense. And you know, if you look at the teams that actually win championships, you know, you can't outscore people.
Right.
You know, you got some points you got to play defense. It doesn't matter if you're in the NFL or if you're in college. So we take great pride. That's where it all starts with us. You know, we have to play great defense. You got to get off the field on third down. You got to do all those things. And you know, we talk offensively, Carl. We don't talk about scoring points on offense. We talk about scoring in the red zone, touchdowns, not kicking field goals. And we talk about taking care of the ball, and everything else takes care of itself. And then you got to play great special teams. You know,
Yes.
you got to. You know, I talk to our team every week. I said, we got to be the best team out on the field today. You know, both as an offense, as a defense, and special teams, and we got to be able to do that. And you know, you look around the country right now, what's happening? You got San Jose out there has won like 3 games in 3 years. They get beat by Arkansas. Why? You know, because you know Arkansas's got better players than San Jose. You look at the Citadel, who got beat by 2 1AA teams. They go in and get beat Georgia Tech. You don't think Georgia Tech's got better players than the Citadel? So every day you go out there, you got to be the best team. I mean, you got to show up and be the best team in all 3 phases, or in today's world, you're going to get beat.
And I like the fact that you threw special teams in there, because one of the interesting things is I think like our high school players, middle school players, youth football players, they don't really understand that you could go to college and not maybe really ever become a starter, but you could be on a special teams that could win a championship because of the role that you play. A kicker, a snapper, a guy who's a gunner on the punt team. And I mean, how important is that, and how do we really get that message out to people to understand there's availability to go to college on a scholarship and be impactful as a special teams player?
Well, they get it at Marshall because they don't play on special teams. They don't play on offense or defense. You know, you won't see Brendan Knox, for example, who I think is one of the best backs in our league right now. He didn't play until the 9th game of last year, and but he was always on special teams. So you know, young players earn our trust starting out playing on special teams, and so you won't play running back or receiver, or you won't play anywhere for us unless you can play on special teams to earn the trust of the coaches. So, but special teams are so important because it changes. It's all about field position. You know, our punter's done a great job all year of pinning guys inside the 10-yard line. Well, if that offense has to go 98 yards or 95 yards, that's difficult to do for anybody. And so that's where it all starts. And special teams is such a momentum changer as far as momentum's concerned, and also as far as field position, which is critical.
Bud Grant was the exact same way. Bud Grant you had to play special teams in order for him to see you, in order for you to get a chance. Practice was one thing, but you literally had to get on special teams. I played special teams all 12 years that I played in the league. Even as a starter, even as a Pro Bowler, you ended up doing something on special teams. That was just the mentality of coaching and Bud Grant's. You had to show up on special teams in order to get in the game.
Well, if you come watch us play, our best linebacker, Amari Cobb, he's our left guard on our punt team. You know, and Brandon Drayton, the safety, he's our left tackle on our punt team, and Couch, our defensive end, he's our quarterback on our punt team. So our best players are going to play on special teams, especially, I think, and you know this as well as anybody, but especially the kickoff and the punt are the first play of the defensive series.
Yes.
And you better change the field position on that, so that defense has got them backed up in order to do that. So if you're a starter on our football team, chances are you're on a couple special teams as well.
Yeah.
He's talked about Bud Grant. He talked about you being like an old school coach that can actually get the modern day player to do what needs to be done to mold a team together. You've had a career for a while coaching. Who were your biggest influences? Do you pattern your coaching style after somebody, or do you take a little piece from every place you've been?
I think you take a little piece from everywhere you've been, but Don Nealon was a big influence on me. I worked for Don forever, Hall of Fame coach, and of course Urban Meyer, when I was at Florida with Urban, won the national championship there. He was a big influence on me on the way you do some things. But Yeah, I think over the years you just take the pieces from everywhere you've been, but you got to be yourself. You know, at some point as a head coach, I mean, you got to be yourself and do what you believe in. And I've taken a little bit from everybody, but at the end of the day, it's kind of I want to do it the way I want to do it, and for the most part, it's been successful.
You said the Hall of Fame coaches. I mean, obviously, Coach Neal and everybody around here knows him, and Urban Meyer. If he's not in the Hall of Fame, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Is there something specific? Is there certain mannerisms? Is there certain ways? Because I saw an interview with Coach Neal just actually last night, and he was talking to one of his older players, and he's saying you can win some games with some players, but you got to have good character people.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that. But I think the number one thing you learn from all those guys is there's no secrets. There are no shortcuts. I mean, you go to work every day. You get up every day and you go to work and you surround yourself with really good people. And I've been fortunate to do that. And I think the other thing is you got to develop players. I think one thing that Don Nealon did a tremendous job of was developing players. He would take guys that weren't heavily recruited players and develop them into being really good players. And same thing with Urban Meyer. He took really good players that we were able to recruit, but he also developed those players to become great players and win national championships. So I think it's all about developing players once you get them, and both of those guys understood that it was a personnel-driven game. At the end of the day, you got to have some good players, and so recruiting was so critical. And you had to hire guys, number one, that could recruit and get players on campus, and then you had to make sure you developed those players once you got them there and kept them.
Doc, listen, it's been a real pleasure for you to come down and do the show with us. I hope you do it again, and you can always talk to Carl, and maybe you can get him out on the field. I don't know.
I'm hoping maybe this Saturday if I can get him down there, he's got 1 or 2 snaps in him.
Right,
maybe half a snap, Coach.
Thanks for coming down, Doc. I appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Funding for West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, The Barnes Agency, Spriggs Distributing, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to West Virginia Sports Connection. We are coming to you from downtown Charleston inside the Embassy Suites, the newly remodeled and beautiful Embassy Suites. And it was our pleasure. We got to talk with Doc Holliday. Carl, when you talk to Doc, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm kind of like a kid in a candy store. I'm going back and forth between you and him and listening to everything he has to say. You said once upon a time that you would want your kid to play for him. Why?
Because he has the demand on his players to be accountable. You do the wrong thing, this is the consequences to that. They get it, they understand that. Coaches nowadays, because we all know, we can admit that kids are different, but because they're different, does that mean we have to change? Because at the end of the day, it's a luxury to have a scholarship at Marshall University. It's a luxury to play high school football. The coach himself doesn't owe you anything, because the high school will be there long after you, the college will be there long after you, the NFL team will be there long after you. So the question becomes, do you want to fit in it? It's not fitting around you. I think we can make the case Antonio Brown realizes it's not fitting around him. If you use him as an example, you can only go so far. And Doc has a unique ability to shut that off. And one of the things that we didn't get to talk about is his graduation rate. It's huge. He made sure his kids graduate. We talked X's and O's and all that kind of stuff, but he's about making sure that those kids not just play football, but they graduate when they're done playing football. That's a demand. That's an expectation. And to allow a kid just to be an athlete is not a high enough expectation.
He does seem like he's cut from that old school. You mentioned Bud Grant earlier, and he just seems like, I mean, as I said earlier, when you listen to him talk, he's kind of a soft-spoken guy. I imagine, I haven't played for him, that he's not like that on the football field.
Well, and listening, and I was trying to, like, I had to pay attention because I had to, you know, try to hear him too, because, like, I'm like, what's he saying? I just want to make sure I get it all. But Bud Grant told me, I got my first start as a special teams guy. And so I'm running down, I'm making plays in the first game, and next thing, what I didn't realize, Tracy, was like people have film. So they start seeing this guy running down the field making these plays. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to start having guys coming across. I'm getting wiped out. And Bud Grant used to run the special teams film. That's how important special teams was to him. And he's running the film, and he's running it back, and I'm getting blown up off the screen. It's like me. I'm just full sprint. The guy just comes and just knocks me out of the screen. And he's like sitting there running the projector. When we see this, sometimes what we think is we made a mistake. Like, I mean, it's not like he's not yelling. He's not calling my name. He's just running the film back. And he says, and if we make a mistake, we'll have to fix it, which means, like, go home. So clearly, you fix it. Coaches that have expectations don't have to yell. They don't have to scream. They tell you in a tone that you get it. Because if I yell at you, your natural reaction is to be defensive. If I tell you, like, hey, Tracy, if you do this again, you're going home. What do you say back? Yes, sir.
Not a whole lot you can say to that, is there?
There's nothing to say to that. And I think we have, as a parent, let the coach, because at the end of the day, that discipline ultimately is going to be a discipline that they're going to need going forward.
You talked about Antonio Brown. And I would imagine that there's coaches all over the country now using this guy as an example. I mean, phenomenal, unbelievable talent. I mean, was on the trajectory for maybe first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I don't know if that's in question now or not. I mean, he has stats, he has all that stuff. But man, it's like something happened there where it's just completely me, and nobody else matters.
Right. Well, I said the moment he went to New England, he would end up making up whatever money he lost. He would make it up in incentives, because they're going to give him all these incentives, playtime, catches, and all that kind of stuff, games that they win, playoff opportunities. He would have made up that money without any problem. The question, though, or with the Patriots, you're going to win a Super Bowl. There's a great chance you're going to win a Super Bowl. That's going to solidify your Hall of Fame ballot. Getting cut from the Patriots before you get into 2 games, that does not speak to Hall of Fame. Guys who have gotten shut out and are not in the Hall of Fame because of issues, like it or not, you are a prime candidate of being one of those guys. Because who likes what you're saying? Who likes what you're doing? Like, who can support? Now, forget the allegations and all of that, but those on top of all the other things. You came in on that hot air balloon. Why? For what reason? So how do I support it? Like, me as a player, former player, how do I say, oh, I'm in this corner. I don't know why they're doing this to him. I can't really say that. I never even thought about a hot air balloon as a way to come to camp, because I want to be a teammate. I would come in and say, hey, Tracy, I'm Carl Lee, I'm a new teammate, da-da-da-da. You say, oh, okay. But if I come in on a hot air balloon and we got a game 3 weeks from today, I'm not sure I'm okay with that.
So put your coaching hat on. I mean, you got a player like that in your locker room. I mean, is what happened to him, is that just what you do? I mean, you said if you're getting blown up on film, the conversation is, you're not going to be here. What do you do with a guy that's so talented but yet is just crushing your team, just ripping it apart.
You keep trying. I think what teams have done is keep trying. I think every single team has tried to say, okay, maybe we can change it. Maybe he'll stop. Maybe this is the last one. And then I think it didn't become the last one until it's just like the Patriots are not going to have all this backlash. They don't care whether he did it or not. No, this is not what we do. We're not going to spend time with that.
Well, this is the second time we've talked about Antonio Brown. I suspect it might not be the last time we talk about him. But, man, what a great show. I had a blast with you. Had a blast with Coach. Listen, if you like what you see, check us out on West Virginia's public broadcast channel 5, 7 o'clock on Thursday evenings. You can also check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Apple iTunes, and our website at WV Sports Connection. And we'll see you next time.